Information is survivability, and NASA keeps everybody alive on Earth in ways that people can't even imagine.
The changes that we've seen in the Arctic have actually outpaced the most grim of the model predictions. And it's going to lead to a great number of changes that we as a species are going to have to deal with. What is the worst case scenario? We're worried that we're going to have to suffer a bit before we improve the way we do things.
I think there's no shortage of sort of shocking events that should be acting as that wake-up call.
I was shaking and rocking and moving, and my eyes are just seeing these green and blue lights from the displays. 2.5 minutes, it gets quieter as the solid rocket boosters jettison. 6.5 minutes later, we're now in space. And I was just blown away. You see this thin blue line, our atmosphere, and it's like, wow, that's what keeps us alive. It's amazing, isn't it? It is beautiful. When you see the bigger picture, it makes you really be cognizant of what we're doing to our environment. You see these places are getting decimated by climate change. Now you can see the urban sprawl, the Amazon forest burning, these systems of hurricanes.
There's Leland, Randy.
I got this awareness of my planet.
Hey, awesome.
The more people that can go to space and see what it looks like, would cherish that beauty, but also see how we're all connected in such a masterful way.
Today's type of flight's going to be a sea ice flight. We're going to head out to the north of Greenland into the Arctic Ocean.
In some ways, the decline of Arctic sea ice is probably the most dramatic story in all of climate change.
Carbon dioxide from cars, trucks, and power plants is driving the rise in global temperature.
Well, the Arctic is warming faster than any other place on Earth.
Satellite data revealed Greenland is losing 100 billion tons of ice each year.
We see entire buildings worth of ice disappearing just in the course of a year. So some scientists think that all Arctic sea ice will disappear in just a few decades. We're doing that ourselves to some degree. We have the technology and the capability to affect planet-scale environments.
We're a powerful species, right? But if we don't recognize that and make the changes, then we're going down.
I'm hopeful that we've learned lessons as humans on Earth, but when we go to Mars,
what is it going to take before we change our ways? Is it going to take something awful, some crisis? We tend to respond to crises, but people also take long-term views. Sometimes we don't need to be woken up by disaster. Sometimes we look ahead to the future.
1,500 feet is our target altitude. We want to be above or below the clouds, but not in them.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Flying along for hours at a time over sea ice, seeing the big changes that really are happening, that's where I get the sense of the Earth's fragility. I think the planet is in peril, and we are being careless in some ways.
Yes, 10,000 in the clear.
Gotcha.
NASA's Operation Ice Bridge is the largest aerial survey ever conducted of the Earth's polar ice. My desk is a seat in an airplane, and my office window is the view out on the North Pole. The ultimate goal is to inform both the U.S. public and the world about the changing state of the planet.
Captain 3, we're ready for the launch.
we think of NASA as this organization that sends us out to the moon and beyond. But actually, most of NASA's budget is spent on making Earth a more survivable place for human beings.
NASA not just flying into space these days, they're flying over the oil disaster.
Above the Earth, a dozen NASA satellites are tracking global warming as we speak.
It is absolutely critical that we understand Earth's environment because this is the only place that we have to live.
Under a state of emergency,
200,000 gallons leaking a day.
Fracking, well water full of methane gas.
And it's not for lack of shocks that change hasn't happened. Why would we imagine that in going to Mars, that narrative wouldn't repeat once again?